the Suns got themselves a win to get off the snide in Detroit on Sunday. There's a couple of very solid things that were going on in terms of their process evolving on both sides of the ball. So I just want to quickly dive into a couple of those things. Of those things being Eric Gordon operating as the initiator of offense and specifically in pick and roll. Then we got Nurkic as well as Eubanks working at the level of the screen defensively and just upping the pace, upping the tempo, and upping the activity within their versatility in the second half against Cade Cunningham and the rest of the crew from the Pistons. So let's go ahead and dive into the film on these three entities from Sunday's win at Detroit. All right, first rep here, we're going to see Spain pick and roll. I love the setup from the Suns. Sometimes they would be stagnant in the setup at times, and it would be a little bit more predictable. But I think even though whenever they reject wide action, if it's not Devin Booker or maybe even potentially Bradley Beal, which we might see tonight, it's typically going to just flow directly into Spain from the middle third of the floor. However, I love that they toss this little handback action in just to get enough of a distraction, and then also allow to leak in a little bit of a rescreen as they flip the angle here off the initial under for Eric Gordon from Nurkic. So they throw this little handback / get action in, and that just enough of little things to distract and just put a little fog in the way as they get into ultimately what they want to do, which is Spain pick and roll. And now we're going to talk about Yuta Watanabe and the screens that he's setting on the back of the center, the person that's guarding Nurkic. Just doing a great job, doing his job, getting in the way, causing confusion. And then we're going to see, to finish it off, which is the subject of it all, Eric Gordon. His ability to just get downhill, get paint touches, and finish through contact. Only person there is Yuta Watanabe's man, who is Joe Harris, who is equal in size in terms of stature, but Eric Gordon outweighs him. And he's not worried about him at all in terms of protecting the rim. Now, he does a great job with his rim protection here in terms of vertically challenging this layup attempt from Eric Gordon. But, again, Eric Gordon's just so good. His drives are so good for this team. And he's not just driving, but also finishing at a high clip. And we see him finish with some creativity there to finish around the vertical contest with a little English off the glass. And then here is going to see, this is going to be a little bit of a handoff. He's going to reject it. And it's going to be a good job from Nurkic, not just handing it off and then watching play unveil. But we're going to see him slide in and get just enough. Again, he teeters the edge on moving screens at times because he does a great job getting in at the last possible second to ultimately help free the ball handler to get downhill. This is on the borderline, but it's still clean. And the angle at which he does it at frees Eric Gordon to not just get downhill, but to also not have to worry about that backside defender, the initial defender. And that also enables him space to just elusively change direction here on Jalen Duren, one of the more athletic centers. He's able to change it, steal back leverage here, and then get into an impressive finish after finishing off the play, not just elusively evading the drop coverage defender, but then cutting down that angle. Look at the two steps. If he stays straight here, Duren's going to eat up that space, and he's probably going to contest this shot and block it on the other side. But Eric Gordon, nuanced in his drives as he is, does a great job again with the snake dribble, gaining back leverage, and then look at the steps inward, curve angle on the drive, and he's able to eliminate the leverage finally at the end from Duren and get into this left-hand finish with the offhand. And then here we're going to see more Spain. This time they go without the handback and kind of see the difference and how predictable it might be. Teams can kind of load up a little bit more if they're more veteran and more understanding of what their coverages are. Nonetheless, the Suns are going to execute yet again. Look at Yuta Watanabe in the screen, the back screen here. He's going to discard of Duren, doing just enough to keep him and put him behind schedule. And then again, because of the spacing of the bottom guys, at the bottom where the baseline meets the sideline and spacing at the three-point line, that's going to put Stewart, as he tries to leak in, a beat or two behind, and Eric Gordon is able to, again, get to the basket with the spacing enabled and then get into this finish. And then lastly, we're going to look at one more Spain rep here. We got Eric Gordon. Look at this, the hesitation. Again, with the spacing enabled with Spain pick and roll, having the two players bottom on the baseline and where the sideline meets that in terms of being in the corners, in the deep corners, spacing wise. There's nobody at the elbows to him for whoever it is that's initiating this action to have to worry about. And Eric Gordon's going to just float right into that space after a very, very cagey head fake here. Change of pace, and then he's able to get into the paint. And then this is the most impressive part. So we've been talking about him scoring off of his drives this whole film session here on him. We see him processing the defense and not just getting into the paint to playmake for himself, but now he's playmaking for others. This is a well-timed pass. This looks like it's going to the roller. He sees that weak side, the low man, is closer to the paint. He ends up ultimately with 1 foot in the paint, and that's the indicator for him. He's like, all right, the skip's there. He gets it there on the rope, and Goody's able to knock down a three-pointer from the corner. This very impressive processing from Eric Gordon in pick and roll, and just generally with his initiating the offense on Sunday. And if he can do a lot of these things once Devin Booker and Bradley Beal get back into the mix, enabling them more opportunities off the ball and spacing, that's going to just add a whole new layer to everything that the Suns are doing. And I'm interested in seeing them blend that into the process as Bradley Beal and Devin Booker return to the lineup soon. All right, here we're looking at Nurkic at the level of the screen, working in the second half. They switched the coverage in the second half to being at the level versus in dropping the first half, and they saw benefits from that automatically. We see Nurkic here already up at the level, as you can see. Ultimately ends up putting 2 to the ball, and we see with that them going with the high tag here with Grayson Allen here at the nail. As you can see him already peeled in onto the roller, Jalen Duren at the nail, as you can see right here. That's taking away the look for that pass. And ultimately, because of their execution and being early with their rotations, that funnels a pass to a player that they're more than okay with taking the shot, especially above the break from deep. And that's a win for the Suns defensively. Next, we're going to see more of the same. Good job here from Eric Gordon with the high switch initially. Then he bumps back to go under, and now it's Nurkic's turn to hedge out. Does a great job here getting into Cade Cunningham's body, not fouling, of course. But look at the rotation here, the high tag here from KBD. As you can see here, funnels a pass to a player that they're more than okay with, again, having a ball above the arc. And now he's put in a position to either play connector or to create. He ends up playing connector as Kevin Durant ultimately tags the roller as well. And then he's going to get into a closeout here. Does a great job being disciplined. It's Thompson, so he's not worried about closing out long. He closes out short, does a great job not getting too close, stays on balance. And now they've flattened out the Pistons' initial action, and they're forcing them into something secondarily. And they do a great job, again, defending that as well. As you can see, KBD here is in a little bit of a short drop. They end up switching it ultimately. Disallows the ball. Funnel the pass to Killian Hayes, and he misses that three. They got to grab that rebound, but that's very good defensive process from the Suns. Changing up the coverages on the fly in the second half. And here we're going to see Nurkic again up at the level of the screen here with Kevin Durant on the empty side. We see KBD, who's going to ultimately be the low man as his man flows over. He's over early. A good job again here from Nurkic with his hands, not just being in the way, but being active with his hands. Throws off that timing a little bit. Now they do a good job creating pace, getting into this get action in the empty corner, getting access to Nurkic, but he does a good job just being strong and being in the way without fouling, and the Suns get a stop and the ball back. And then here we're going to see one more rep with Nurkic at the level of the screen. Eric Gordon's into the ball. That's what you want. You don't want him just kind of funneling around because then he can always reject, and then that's when the defense gets burned. So great job here from all existing parties, including Grayson Allen here in an isolated tag situation here. As you can see the shakeup from Killian Hayes, you see Grayson Allen is early with his steps. As you can see, knowing that Nurkic is up at the level, he's early with his steps here, leaning into the roller. That creates a one-way closeout rather than trying to go from 1 to 2 to 3. It's just from 1 to 2. So it's boom, boom. He's back there early in a great position for closing and recovering, which is exactly what he does. Gets into the ball, ends up floating around to the second side. And this is the shot you're going to live with. You're not going to close out long on Thompson, not quite yet at least. He'll eventually develop a three-point shot that warrants a little bit more of a closer or a longer closeout rather, but at this moment in time, that's a shot you live with and you knock that down. But that's good defense from the Suns. And now let's look at the reps with Eubanks at the level of the screen, as he has defensive versatility, as I mentioned in preseason, that he's bringing to the mix as well. Great job here from him just shooting up with activity instantly. And Goody gets his hands on the ball here. Ultimately, they call a foul, but that's really, really good defense, just upping the tempo and pace. And I really love these two, as well as a Koji with Eubanks, in pick and roll defense. That's a tandem. Those are two tandems rather that I feel like would be terrorists to secondary units as they try to get into pick and roll actions. Here we're going to see a little bit more of the same. He's a little bit behind schedule, but he's still stepping up nonetheless. Flattens out that action there from Killian Hayes, allowing for Eric Gordon to get back into the mix. And look at the rotations here. We got Goodwin as a low man. He's peeled in early, takes away that look at the roller. Now, I would love for Okogie to be up the line and help to take away this pass as well and truly flatten out anything advantage-wise that they might have to or try to create this now middle of the shot clock. Nonetheless, we're going to see what Goody does with his hands on this closeout and ultimately gets a steal. And then this last rip here, we're going to see another great job here from Eubanks up at the level of the screen. It's the activity, the ferocity that he shoots up with just really sends Sasser off script with his dribbling. And now he's sped up the entire pacing of this action and just general set and possession before it even gets started. That's going to be followed by a deflection from Grayson Allen. And the Suns going to ultimately end up getting a stop here. Again, just little things that the Suns are nailing in terms of their execution within their process are really going to be important to see them continue to execute on. And in addition to that, seeing everything that Eric Gordon brings to the offensive side of the ball and blending that in tandem with everything Durant does, as well as with Booker and Beal, and mixing all of those things together into one process.